This, in fact, is one of the greatest financial experiments in human history, and most people are not even aware that they are living right in the middle of it. When we look at the world today, global debt, meaning the total obligations of governments, companies, and individuals, has reached levels never seen before in history. States are borrowing trillions of dollars as if it were something completely ordinary. Central banks are creating money with just a few keystrokes. People now see taking 20 to 30-year loans to buy homes as a natural part of life. But the interesting point is this: we have come to accept debt as something normal. Yet debt has always been something much deeper. It is not only a financial issue, but also a matter of power, control, and sometimes a risky game of balance and stability. The real question is, where is this massive debt system heading? And if this system one day comes under strain, who will bear the cost? To understand this, we need to go back a little. Debt is as old as humanity itself. Even the earliest records in Mesopotamia were less like modern economic systems and more like ledgers of who owes what to whom. Wheat, animals, labor, everything was recorded. What is interesting is this: in those times, debt was not only economic but also social. There were even reset periods when debts were completely erased, because people understood that if debt grew without control, the system would collapse. So from the very beginning, one truth was understood: debt was necessary, but too much of it was dangerous. Over time, things changed. By the Renaissance period, debt began to operate through gold, credit, and banking systems. Families like the Medici were at the center of this structure. Kings borrowed money to finance wars. Popes borrowed to build cathedrals. Empires survived through this system. But the same problem existed here as well. As debt grew, so did risk. For example, Spain, despite the massive influx of silver from the New World, went bankrupt several times in the 1500s. Because no matter how high income was, debt could grow even faster. This gives a simple lesson. Even great wealth can be overwhelmed by uncontrolled debt. By the 20th century, the scale increased even further. After the First World War, countries were left with enormous debt burdens. Germany's economic collapse and hyperinflation were among the most extreme examples of this. Then in 1944, the Bretton Woods system was created. The global financial order was reshaped. The dollar became the central currency and was tied to gold, but even this system did not last forever. In 1971, the United States abandoned the gold standard. From that moment on, money and debt shifted into a system based entirely on trust. This was a critical turning point, because from that point onward, debt became theoretically unlimited. Central banks began managing the system through interest rates, and whenever crises appeared, new debt was created. Over time, this structure expanded even more. In the 1980s, public debt increased, and developing countries fell into severe debt crises. In 2008, the entire system experienced a massive collapse built on leverage. In reality, the 2008 crisis was not just about housing loans. Behind it was a much larger chain of debt. When we come to the present day, the picture is even larger. Global debt has surpassed hundreds of trillions of dollars. Some countries carry more debt than their own GDP. Corporations, governments, and individuals are all part of this system together. But the most important point is this: debt is not only an economic issue, it is also a mechanism that shapes behavior. Because as debt grows, the system begins to operate like this. Surviving today becomes the priority. The future gets postponed. Risks are continuously delayed, but nothing can be postponed forever. When interest rates rise, reality becomes visible. Payments become harder, budgets tighten, and the system becomes more expensive. And here is the fundamental truth. Debt is like something that seems harmless while it sleeps, but becomes extremely powerful when it wakes up. Today, debt is still described as a tool for growth. But history tells us something different. Debt ends in three ways. It is repaid, it is eroded by inflation, or it is restructured through crisis. There is no fourth option, and there likely never will be. What is most striking is this. This system works like a structure that everyone is inside, yet almost no one fully sees. When a government borrows, you do not feel it directly, but you experience its indirect effects. Companies grow through debt, governments balance budgets through debt, individuals build lives through credit, and the system continues this way. But history shows us this. At some point, this cycle always comes under strain. That is why debt should be understood not just as a number, but as a structure.